And we visit the Babita Deokaran case once again. A corruption whistleblower with the Gauteng Department of Health. She was assassinated outside her home on August of 2021. Reports have now emerged that a cell phone containing evidence in the 850 million rand fraud and corruption probe into the Tembisa Hospital belonging to suspended Gauteng Health Department boss Lerato Madyo's cell phone stolen before cops could analyze it has been found. Well, let's talk more on this, and we understand the corruption at that hospital. Jeff Wicks is the reporter who has produced a series of articles around this matter. Jeff, good morning to you. You have this time around focused your investigations on a cell phone, or should I say a phone call that would have occurred minutes before Babita Deokaran is assassinated. Explain who this phone call came from and what happened subsequent.
So we've looked at the role of Lerato Madyo, who wouldn't be a household name to many, but she plays an important act in the story that we've been reporting. She was Babita Deokaran's direct reporting line at the Gauteng Department of Health.
Yeah.
She was the first person that Babita reported her concerns about Tembisa spending to. And part of the story we produced was looking at a WhatsApp message, which was sent moment after Babita was gunned down on that Monday in August of 2021.
Right.
And that WhatsApp message was sent by Lerato Madyo, and it said, "Are you okay?" And it was accompanied by very drastic punctuation. And this message was sent just minutes after she arrived at the hospital and several hours before the life support machines were eventually turned off. It's not something that we can look at in isolation, but it forms part of a greater timeline of their conversations in the last months of Babita's life.
You speak about the tone of this particular WhatsApp message. What about it raises concern?
Well, it was 3 words, "Are you okay?" followed by 5 question marks and 4 exclamation marks. And this is evidence that we've obtained from the contents of Babita Deokaran's cell phone.
Yeah.
Of course, the corresponding phone in this discussion was reported stolen by Madyo in March of last year, several months after the assassination. But that gives the impression of concern and anxiety. And we asked Ms. Madyo about why she structured the message this way and why, if she was concerned, what was the basis of that. And she declined to answer our questions. But it's more important than that single message, because Madyo was the first person Babita had gone to when she warned of a payment surge at Tembisa Hospital.
Aha.
She also lied to Babita Deokaran when she said that her concerns and a request for investigation had been bumped up the chain of command. That, in fact, had never happened. So this is important because Madyo is now the subject of both a Hawks investigation and an SIU probe. Her laptop was seized, but the police were unable to get her phone because it was stolen and because they started their own investigation months late.
When you say she lied to Babita Deokaran that her concerns about what was going on at Tembisa had now been bumped up in the chain of command, who did she claim that this was reported to? And did you subsequently speak to that person that Lerato claims to have reported Babita's concerns to?
So less than 2 weeks before the assassination took place, Babita sent a WhatsApp message to Madyo and said, "Our lives might be in danger. The Tembisa guys might be onto us. We need an investigation." And Madyo responded, "I've requested approval from the HOD." The first thing that we did when we found these messages was go to the HOD, Dr. Sibongile Zungu, who says that this conversation never took place. She heard about these concerns in passing, and it was in fact never formally reported. And that begs the question as to why.
We know that Lerato Madyo, and for viewers who may not know what her actual designation was within the health department, or still is that of the Chief Financial Officer.
That's correct.
Am I correct? Yeah. So we know that she's now been on suspension for 6 months from the department. Have any charges been preferred to her by the department?
No, not yet. The first stanza of this disciplinary action sat at the end of February. And the Department of Health, or actually the initiating authorities, the Gauteng Premier's office, were unable to produce a charge sheet. And this matter has now been postponed until April. And she remains on paid suspension. So that, of course, is also a point of concern, because by the time that hearing had sat, she'd been suspended for several months, and the Premier's office was still unable to produce a charge sheet.
So she's suspended and has been on suspension for 6 months on full pay, but there are no charges to speak of. At least that's what your investigations have told you. What about the police? Is she even a person of interest at this stage? Well,
we know that she is, perhaps not a person of interest, but we say that she's a central actor in the police investigation, and that's underscored by the fact that her laptop was seized. And we also know that the SIU also wanted to examine her laptop, and when they tried to find it at the Department of Health, they were told that it's actually in the hands of the Hawks. So it's very clear that she's being at least considered in the police investigation and the SIU probe. The police investigation started months, nearly a year after Dio Karan was assassinated, and that was only because of our stories that we were putting into the public domain. Had someone acted sooner, we would perhaps not be in this position where her cell phone, which is of evidentiary value, which could exclude her as a suspect or also implicate her, now cannot be analysed because it's been stolen.
Let's conclude the conversation with where to next with your investigations. What's your next sort of article going to look at? Is it possibly the police ineptitude here?
Well, I think the police ineptitude is already on full display, but from where we are and our team, the work that we're doing continues. There's lots more to be done. Babita had flagged over 200 companies which she felt were illegitimate, and to date we've only examined less than half of them. So there's much more still to come, and the most chilling part about what we found so far is that there are indications that Tembisa was not only the feeding trough for these contract syndicates. We've found substantive evidence of at least 5 other hospitals that were also awarding contracts to these firms, most of which didn't exist.
Wow. Well, and you wonder why the report of the Health Ombud said what it said. Jeff, thank you very much, and continue with the work that you are doing. He's an investigative reporter attached to News 24. Thanks indeed for your time, Jeff. All right, let's take you